So Amy Klobuchar just sniped Elizabeth Warren and ruined a lot of her chances at VP. She was on MSNBC and she was given cover for the reason why she's not going to be VP, and that reason is because the George Floyd uh, incident ruined her prospects for being vice president because she had a chance to prosecute the officer that killed George Floyd, but didn't take the opportunity, and she was just a horrible attorney general for a state that had a lot of problem with police violence to the point where Black Lives Matter and NAACP asked her to drop out of this race. So she had a lot of issues with criminal justice that they was able to sweep under the rug for a very long time throughout the course of this primary. But the problem is now with the um, Black Lives Matter protests and the current era that we in, it's impossible to ignore those issues now with Klobuchar. So she was ruled out, and this was absolutely fabulous. How she decided if I'm going down, I'm gonna take Elizabeth Warren down with me, where she's weaponized identity politics against Warren, where she was like, "Hey, yo, if you're not a woman of color, you shouldn't be advised. You shouldn't be Joe Biden's VP. I think you should have a woman of color VP." Now, this is my initial take. I don't give her any props for that. Like, why would because when she means woman of color, obviously, they point towards Kamala Harris because the Democrat establishment, what they do, they use identity politics as a way to weaponize um, any dissent against their agenda because they will use that person of color and they will attack anyone that question their politics and their agenda as being sexist or being racist. And they use that to silence white progressives. That's why I go after the Black Congressional Caucus, and that's why I go after them aggressively. Because if you hear white progressives, they tell me all the time they go after Obama, and the first thing they get hit with is, "Hey, you don't like Obama because you're racist," and that's what they use to kind of silence dissent. But at the same time, identity politics only works one way. It only works in a way that keeps the Overton window to the right. So as soon as Amy Klobuchar came out with this statement, obviously the first uh, person they want to start popping up, and she immediately was trending afterwards was Kamala Harris, and I'm like, man, you cannot pick an even more tone deaf candidate because when I personally say all cops are bastards, I say all cops and not mean all cops are bastards because they prop up and they apologize for a system that continue to be systemically racist, and they as a lobbying group continue to lobby to keep the new Jim Crow laws on the books. So it's not like they're just innocent bystanders; they are bodyguards, enforcers of the white supremacy. So having Kamala Harris up there when she completely bombed this Democratic primary, she wasn't popular to begin with. So I'm not sure how it will be accepted for her to be vice president when she held an innocent man in jail, where she didn't do anything to combat police violence in her state of California. She prosecuted people for truancy in schools, mothers as well. She was a big supporter of civil asset forfeiture as well. So it's like you cannot pick a worse VP, but Klobuchar laid her up. But my question is, why not Nina Turner? Why not Tulsi Gabbard? Why not Barbara Lee? They would never bring these people up because these are the progressive women of color that's out of bounds. So once again, they use identity politics just as a way to prop up the good ones of us that prop up the neoliberal establishment that continue to prop up capitalism, the one who continue to prop up white supremacy in the police state, like Kamala Harris has done. So I think that's very telling that no one is propping these women of color are, because Tulsi Gabbard, she got more delegates than Kamala Harris did. Like she actually stands for something. I mean, you can criticize her and have good points doing that, but her stance on endless war, she has a very strong off act that removes all fossil fuels. She's really great on constitutional issues as well. I like her stance on the Fourth Amendment, Julian Assange, and her willingness to speak up on that behalf, where she actually outflanked Bernie on those issues. So, um, and obviously, my number one choice, and this is one of the few ways that Biden can win me over. I said that they was in a very tough position with Joe Biden because they're gonna have a very hard time winning me over. But Joe Biden could have picked Nina Turner, and that's a very persuasive pick. Barbara Lee is a very persuasive pick. I know a lot of people that commented that they will vote for Biden. They should pick Barbara Lee, but those people are out of bounds because they don't fit in the Overton window that they try to promote. So remember, it has nothing to do with giving us a seat at the table. What they did, they promote a perversive, bastardized version of identity politics where they believe just putting one of their own at the table that looks like you will be enough to satisfy and placate us. And obviously, unfortunately, it works in some cases. Um, There's a lot of support among black politicians, unfortunately, among the black community, just because a lot of people do get placated. But now, in the era where more people are doing their research, and I'm gonna continue to spread the message about how corrupt the Black Congressional Caucus is and Kamala Harris's record. I don't think that's gonna be a good move for them in the long run. So, but I do think Kamala Harris is the overwhelming favorite to be picked. But I want you guys to understand that she will be a pick to advance white supremacy as much as any other pick, just because the her horrible record and the fact that she's complicit with the neoliberal establishment, which goes against everything that I personally stand for, and what caused Black Lives Matter to start in the first place during the Obama years of pushing the tough on crime prosecutors like Amy Klobuchar and Kamala Harris. So at the end of the day, my final thoughts is I'm just reading the room here. This is my comments on the VP just because I live politics or whatever, but I don't think the VP is gonna make that much of a difference. I'm gonna be honest because I made videos before. I think Trump is choking this election, and I think MAGA got so comfortable because they outperformed the polls last time that they assume that all situations are going to be like that. And I'm not necessarily sure that's the case because Blue MAGA created electoral juggernaut in Joe Biden where he's scandal free just like Trump. And we wasn't able to take him down. And I'm looking the way Trump campaigning against Biden, and he's been pretty weak against Biden in my opinion. So I don't think the VP pick really gonna hurt that much because Trump approval ratings is through the toilet, and MAGA has gotten too comfortable and they're in their own bubble. So I just seen a horrible campaign being run on their end. They are taking the side of the police state over the populace, and Trump is not really good at defending his record. And as long as the VP doesn't do anything too stupid, and long as she can just do the Joe Biden strategies, kind of stay low, and just let Trump employ his campaign. So at the end, I don't think it's gonna matter. But I just thought it was funny that Klobuchar turned snake on Elizabeth Warren and then took her down with her.